What's going on, guys? Josh here, and we have
Michael, obviously.
Yes. Okay.
I should probably start, saying a bit earlier, but Anyway.
Yeah. So we're doing a little commentary today about the evolution of combat, because obviously that is gonna come into RuneScape sometime in the future, and a lot of people have varying opinions on it, so we thought we'd just share our opinions, what we think about it.
Yeah, because to us, we're quite divided, aren't we? Like, I'm not saying you love the combat beta, but you like it a bit. I'd have to say I hate it. I prefer RS2 so much more. I'm
sure everyone would rather stick with how it is now, but to be honest, I don't mind the new combat system.
It just frustrates me, you know. For a start, AFKing combat is going to be worse.
Yeah, I mean,
even though they say it's going to be better XP, it's not, right?
Yeah, because apparently it is supposed to be better, but I'm not sure. I haven't tested it or anything. I'm not sure if it is going to be better, so we'll just have to wait and see on that. But I mean, obviously the aim of the evolution of combat isn't for training particularly, it's more for PVM and PvP. But then I guess they kind of have overlooked training then.
Yeah, because like pures are basically getting ruined. Not that I'm saying I'm a pure, but like people to get to PVM and PvP, and PKing and stuff like that's standard. You need to train. You need to get your levels up. You need to get like max combat. And if you can't train properly, how are you going to get there?
That's true. Although I will say, on the thing about pures, I think we'll see a different type of pure now. Because,
new pures.
I mean, one thing I don't like is the combat calculator. Because that's just the defense level plus any of your combat stats plus 2. Which is, quite frankly, a terrible calculator. Like, I'm pretty sure like a 3-year-old could come up with that.
Yeah,
there was no thought into that. But I mean,
the one they've got at the moment is terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, Karen.
It's decent because it includes everything, really. But yeah, what I was thinking is, if you're a pure, you could sort of go to like 50 defense, and then maybe like if you got 99 every other combat style, well, you're still only like, was that 151? Yet you're gonna completely tear against anyone else who's sort of like got their stats even. So like at least now, well, I guess it's kind of worse now, but I don't know, it's just we're gonna see different pures, to be honest.
Yeah, we are. And also just generally we're gonna because like when you walk around you don't actually see your combat level anymore, you see your total levels, which being somebody with not that many total levels, I'm not gonna lie, is a bit of hindrance.
Yeah, that is annoying. And then they said when you're in combat it will show your combat level.
Oh yeah,
which I've seen sometimes, but then when I was in the duel arena, like not in combat but just there, it shows your skill level sometimes still. Even though you should see combat level, because then you don't know who you're up against.
Because it's like, I think it's, if you haven't done a fight there yet, it still shows your skill level. So I think that's stupid, because you don't know who you're going to fight, do you?
Yeah, exactly.
Because you could be 1,500 level, and you could have like max combat, and people with like 2,200 who have max combat would be like, I'm not even going to fight him because he's just rubbish. And it's just going to ruin the whole kind of boxing and stuff, and it's just going to generally destroy some stuff.
Change that a bit.
Yeah.
Like, so any combat area really should show your combat your combat level, rather than skill total. But alright, go.
Sorry, sorry, Karen.
I was just going to move away from that and talk about bit about abilities, because obviously that is the main part of it. So what do you think about that?
Abilities? Oh god, where to start? Well, I don't know, I like some abilities. I like the idea of how it's not just special attack orientated. it doesn't mean some weapons are going to get completely, like, you know, they're just going to be useless.
Yeah,
AGS and ZGS and claws, they're all just going to be so, like, pretty much useless. So on that front, I'm not so sure, but
yeah, and the thing is, they've got to. I'm not quite sure on the stats in the beta, but they have to make weapons better than chaotics.
Yeah,
I mean,
true.
the only reason now that you wouldn't use a chaotic is, I mean, obviously you don't have one, but is for the special attack, because I'm pretty sure chaotics have better stats than every weapon in the game. So
they are just amazing. So
yeah, so if there are no specials and every weapon has worse stats than the chaotic, then there's no reason to use anything else.
I know what you mean.
They've got to, I mean, I'm not sure if they have fixed that or changed that, but they've got to do something with that.
I don't think they will, to be honest, because chaotics, like, the way you get chaotics of getting 80, like close to 80 dunge-ish and getting 200k tokens is just like so, well, not elite, but it's like it's difficult to get, so they want to reward those players by giving them chaotics, so I doubt they will change that.
Like, chaotics should be good, but in the new system it shouldn't be you have to use a chaotic or you can't really do anything.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, which it's sort of like that now, but I mean, because weapons have special attacks, and pretty much most weapons are usable.
But the good thing is, what it will stop is for PKers and PKers and other people doing stuff in the wildy and luring, there will be no specs anymore. So I don't think you can really, let's say you're luring someone, not that I do, and you take someone in, they normally switch up to the Dragon Claws, don't they, or the AGS and try and do that. So I think it really will ruin PKing / those kind of lures or other stuff like that. So
yeah, that was one of my worries, and I actually did some PKing on the beta recently in full Virtus against a Ganodermic mage.
Nice.
And I was on purposely keeping my life points low, and so I had like 3,000 life points, which obviously in the beta, when you can heal up to like 10k with Nex armor, that is quite low. And he did actually manage to one-hit me with an ability, which I guess, so there is sort of a KO potential there in PvP, but it's not from weapons anymore.
Yeah.
It's more abilities, which I don't
it's those abilities.
Like. Because I mean, even like with Barrows before, you could one hit with that Darrock axe sort of.
Yeah, true.
Like sort of special kind of thing, even though it's not a special attack. But now it's like, well, there's no chance of that, really.
Yeah, and also like just generally, I think PKing is going to be just special ability orientated. So it's going to mean that people who are like not so good at switching and slightly not so good at PKing are going to be within a shout of killing like better players, because it is obviously easier to PK because there aren't, you know, spec switch ups and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And I do think if you learn how the abilities work, you will do better. But I will say you can sort of just button mash and do fine.
Anything.
Really. Yeah, just like do a string of abilities. But there is some tactic.
Because there is a tactic. Yeah, sorry, carry on.
No, like if you were to sort of like stun someone, and I think there's ability where sort of if they're stunned, you can do like 5 times their damage. Like damage. So I mean, if you can combo stuff like that, then you obviously do better than your average player. But you can still do well just doing random abilities, I find.
I think. Oh god, I forgot what I was going to say now. Oh, yeah, wait. It'll come back to me in a bit.
Alright. Well, is it still about abilities?
Yeah, it was just like, abilities. People are going to be like staying around the low health LP and not like healing up because they want to get that ability bar at the end. And I think that will probably lead to people just getting killed easier because they kind of risk it because they want to get the ability quicker and not eat. So it will kind of mean that safing and not dying will maybe increase, you know.
Good point, because yeah, if you can get that ultimate quickly, then in theory you could take out your opponent fairly quickly as well. But then obviously you're going to be on low life points if you don't eat up.
Because I remember going PKing. I think we went like a couple of months ago when it first came out the beta. I went PKing and I was fighting this guy, and he was a lower combat than me, about 10 to 15 lower than me. But the thing was, he knew his abilities. He had them all switched up. He had the right ones. He had like everything going correctly, and he absolutely owned me because he knew what he was doing. So I think if you study the abilities, like you said earlier, and you get which ones you know are right, like for you, and then with the switches and stuff, then I think you will do a lot better. So that's good.
Yeah, definitely.
But then who can really be bothered to do that, you know?
Yeah, I think the last thing I'll mention on PvP is I think they've kind of ruined hybriding and tri-breeding, because I think if you switch weapons or combat styles, your adrenaline drains. So sort of if you wanted to like get your up to ultimate level with melee and then sort of like switch to magic to do some massive damage, you can't do that because your adrenaline will drain back to 0.
Oh really?
I think that's how it is, and that kind of defeats the purpose of hybriding and stuff, because you're not going to do some massive damage with just like auto attack.
I think also when you switch up armors, doesn't your LP go back to like 100 instead of 10,000? Because when you take off your armor,
I'm not sure about that. Yeah, when you take it
off, it might be
off,
when you switch actually. Yeah,
when you take it off,
so if you fail a switch,
normal,
and accidentally take it off, which is quite bad, you couldn't really do that. But yeah. So I don't know. I think there are still some flaws. I obviously
definitely.
As against the combat beta, I don't want it to come out in December. I want it to come out maybe 2013 summer.
Actually, yeah, apparently it is coming out in 2013. They pushed it back.
So it's getting pushed back again.
Yeah,
true. I knew it would. I think it will probably come around June-ish next year. So
yeah, maybe. Although
maybe it'll increase on me and I'll warm up to it, but don't know really.
Yeah, because we did. Next thing I want to move on to is PVM, because we did some bossing.
Oh yeah, true.
Sort of in the early stages, and I've done a bit more recently. I think we just did some duo for Bandos, and I've also soloed Zamorak and Bandos. And what I found is that you pretty much choose when you want to die, because I was in full Torvus. I mean, that's not really realistic, but I'm only gonna die when I choose not to eat. That's what I found. I mean, if I can stay there and solo it for a good maybe 5 kills, even at my I was probably like 80 melee stats back then, which in the live game, that's like you're gonna die. Like
you're gonna just die instantly.
Yeah. So I found bossing, at least the current bosses are a lot weaker, and they need to be reworked.
I think when they maybe fix PvP, they will probably fix PVM and make it less easy, because I remember that I soloed Bandos, who isn't weak to magic, in full Virtus and a Polyball, and just absolutely raped him, so
yeah, I know,
it's weird. It's pretty much.
Although I will say that the combat beta will open up a lot harder bosses, because now like the current bosses don't do it, but these new bosses could be using abilities and stuff against us. So
oh really?
It's sort of like we're fighting almost a human if he can do what we can do now.
Yeah, so, true.
I mean, I'm not sure if they're going to do that, just an idea, but that would lead to a lot better bossing, I think. Because like Next can already use prayers, so that's sort of like halfway there.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And Next will just do loads of crazy stuff.
Yeah, I know. Because also, although some bosses, like I know the beginning of the beta, the court was extremely hard to kill. Yeah. So I'm not sure if they fixed that. And then I think Next was actually soloable at the beginning of the beta as well.
Really?
So I think
oh right, yeah, wow.
Yeah, so I think they might have like reworked some of that stuff, but I mean,
Yeah, because soloing next is just too easy.
Yeah, it was never meant to be that way, so...
But, to be honest, just like, final note,
yeah.
I think, obviously I'm not really a fan of the beta, but if it shapes up a bit, maybe they sort out some of the stuff, I think it will be actually quite good, so that's pretty much my final opinion on it.
Because, yeah, I mean, I feel they haven't been listening to the community enough. And
do they ever?
There was actually
Solomon
a behind
Store,
the scenes.
School of Fortune,
yeah.
all the crappy Halloween update. He wants to go find ghosts.
I know, but if you look, there was a behind the scenes video that Mod Mark did about the evolution of combat. But if you look, that's like the first bit of information we had on it in about 5 months. And I think they do talk about it in the forums a bit, and they do like the patch notes. But to be honest, unless you properly look for that, you're not going to know what's going on.
Yeah,
so,
and it is quite a bit of lack of communication.
Yeah, exactly.
On the EOC front.
Yeah, and it doesn't really look like they're listening to player feedback as much as they say they are. Like,
I don't know. I think.
Yeah, what? Go on.
I think it's difficult sometimes to just do everything that people want, though, because obviously it just like you can't do everything. Within their limits. So.
But I have noticed they are sort of catering to lower level players as well, because Turmoil and Overloads have actually been nerfed now in the beta.
Yeah, and so protection players apparently.
Yeah, they're only 50% protection, which I don't know. It will offer harder bosses, but so I mean that's very high level content right there. And like,
yeah, true.
If you're nerfing Overloads to the point, because Overloads only affect, and Turmoil, they only affect your weapon damage, not abilities. So if you're nerfing it to the point where there is no point in using that, then there's no reason to spend the 400 mil to get 99 purple.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
It sort of just devalues skill and high level content, really.
Also, like, high level content is what like kind of keeps a game ticking like as a good game, because as we see with franchises such as Call of Duty and other stuff, just using it as a like a example, Call of Duty it just compensates so much for the low level gamer who's not so good, you know, using noob tubes and commando and stuff, and that's what ruins the game, because you're not compensating for the good players who want to play as well, and most of the RuneScape players, they want a good experience, so I don't think they should really overcompensate for noobs.
Yeah, because the thing is, in theory, everybody should one day become a high-level player. And there's always going to be new players coming in, but I mean, everyone... They've
got to learn it the hard way, it can't be easy.
Yeah, and they should have to like start from the very beginning and work their way up. Because like, I think we both started sort of like 06, 07 time. So back then, there was really no help whatsoever, and like there was Tutorial Island where you get like a tinderbox and a fishing net, and that's pretty much it. You're off to go.
You've got to learn everything else.
Yeah, I mean that teaches you the basics, but then you've got to learn like how to properly skill and make money and all of that. So you actually like now when we're sort of at this level, we actually know how to play the game properly.
Well, I don't know. I'm a bit of a noob.
Well, we should know.
I don't even know how to fletch yet. Oh, no,
but with new members, it's sort of, they're thrown into the member world straight away, which is, I mean, for me, that's totally wrong. Because they've got like 25 skills to learn with this new tutorial, which like, sort of, the reason you buy membership in the beginning is because like free to play is not enough for you. And then when you get members, you never want to go back. Really?
Yeah, true that.
But so this is
when
really
you get a membership, you just can't go back. But nowadays, people actually really like free to play just because it's so simple.
Yeah, I know. And then now also with like the Squeal of Fortune, you could literally start a level 3 account with like 200 mil. I mean, you could possibly, but
I know.
I mean, more likely
you get like an arcade
with,
and you get 70 mil.
Yeah, I mean, more likely you could start with about like 50 mil. And maybe like a 5k XP lamp, which is already, when you've got level 1 skills, that's like boosting you to like level 20 and stuff properly.
I know what you mean.
So, yeah, I mean, we've kind of gone off the combat beta a bit. But I think just to go back to
our opinions.
Yeah, to go back to the beta, I think it should be. I like it, but in the current form, I would not play it in the live game. Like if they put it in the live game now, I would just quit. To be honest, it needs. I wouldn't
quit.
Well, I might not quit.
I'd cry and then I'd quit.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that then. But I'm guessing you're kind of the same.
Yeah. Well, I want them to really shape it up before they put it into live, because it is pretty like poor standard at the moment, I think. So.
Yeah. Alright, well, I think we'll end it there. I think it's going to be like a 20-minute video.
Yeah.
It's going to take ages to render, but...
Yeah, true that.
So this has just been our opinions on the EAC. I hope you enjoyed. We'll see you later.
See ya.